Right now, on to the point.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
President Trump announcing historic tariffs. Tonight, what they mean for families and major industries.
There are no winners in a trade war.
Some migrant shelters at the California-Mexico border shutting their doors. Why they say it's due to the immigration crackdown. And later in the show, the California governor's race.
Right now, what can't wait is that California dream.
Democrat Javier Becerra officially announcing his run. Tonight, a look at the crowded field and which Republicans have already thrown their hat in the ring. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Today, President Donald Trump announced new tariffs from the White House Rose Garden, calling today Liberation Day.
The day America's destiny was reclaimed and the day that we began to make America wealthy again.
The president's historic announcement features two key policies. Number one, a uniform 10% tariff for all imports into America with a few exceptions. And number two, reciprocal tariffs that will be put on many countries that tax U.S. imports.
Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that.
The Trump administration says this will incentivize companies to increase production in the U.S., but countries are expected to respond with countermeasures, causing some to refer to this escalation as a trade war. Experts anticipate more tariffs will drive prices up on other things like clothing, cars, and food. Tonight, a To The Point viewer is asking where and when are these tariffs imposed? And well, the Trump administration says the 10% tariffs will take effect starting on April 5th, and the reciprocal tariffs will take effect starting on April 9th. As for where the tariffs are collected in the United States, tariffs are collected by Customs and Border Protection agents at ports of entries across the country. That could be at airports, railways, roads, or ports. And businesses that import, they pay that tariff or that tax, and it's really up to the businesses to either swallow the cost of the tax or pass it on to consumers by raising their prices. And so how are businesses feeling that tonight? And what could today's actions mean for major industries like California's agricultural sector? ABC's Becca Habegger joins us in studio after speaking with economists and growers today. Becca.
Yeah, Alex, President Trump says these tariffs will help American farmers and ranchers, but farmers and ag economists tell me they're worried, and they think this will not only hurt California farmers, but also California consumers at the grocery store.
Ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
On Wednesday, President Donald Trump announced tariffs of at least 10% on other nations.
With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world.
But California's ag sector, which produces more than 400 commodities and whose annual exports exceed $20 billion over the past decade, is worried. Last month, in anticipation of these tariffs, a coalition of more than 20 major California agriculture groups, including the Farm Bureau, wrote a letter to California's congressional delegation saying, "We remain concerned that broad-based tariffs will disrupt agricultural markets both in the short and long term."
There are no winners in a trade war like this.
Colin Carter is professor emeritus with UC Davis's Department of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. He says Americans could start seeing higher prices at the grocery store in coming weeks.
You know, the United States imports around 60% of its fresh fruit and 35% of its fresh vegetables. So if you talk about avocados, they're probably going to go up, 45 cents each. Lemons, limes, bell peppers, tomatoes, there's a long list of products that are subject to high tariffs.
But even agricultural products produced here in California will be affected, says UC Davis Assistant Professor of Cooperative Extension James Sayer.
Even if you're buying produce from a Californian farm, because there's less supply and demand sort of dictates that the prices for all goods are going to go up. And so any good in which we're importing some amount right now that's subject to an import tariff, we could see price increases on.
He says blueberries, bananas, cucumbers, garlic, avocados, and clementines are among the many products that could be affected by tariffs.
And most of those costs will get passed on to consumers.
If a trade war really takes hold, that will be very challenging for the industry.
Will Callis is Export Program Coordinator with the California Cherry Board and also a cherry grower himself. He says on average, about a quarter of California's cherry crop is exported every year, about half of that going to Canada.
With the tariffs announced today, it just remains to be seen how other countries respond. Our other top export markets are Japan and Korea. Those are incredibly valuable export markets for California cherries. And if for some reason they were to retaliate with tariffs against California cherries, regardless of the crop size, that would cause challenges.
All right, so Becca has been following this for us, and we do want to mention California ag leaders and economists. They're really pointing to an example from Trump's first term. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you know, folks might recall in 2018, President Trump implemented tariffs on certain countries like China that prompted retaliatory tariffs from them in return. Now, in that letter from California ag organizations to Congress members, they point out that those tariffs hurt California producers, and a nearly $15 billion taxpayer-funded bailout from the federal government meant to provide relief didn't do much for California farmers and ranchers. Most of that bailout money went to farmers in the Midwest. Now, for his part, President Trump claims his 2018 tariffs were a success, although Alex, economists I spoke with today tell me they disagree with that statement.
All right, Becca, thank you. And this is something that we'll be following very closely. Also tonight, the California Building Industry Association says it's already seeing housing costs going up. The group based in Sacramento represents land developers and home builders. They estimate the cost of a home could go up between $7,500 to $10,000 because of imports from Canada, Mexico, and China, and anticipated retaliatory tariffs.
We are beginning to see companies tell us that we should expect price increases on the fixtures, on lumber, and on drywall. They're telling us they're just not sure what it's going to mean from a shipment perspective. Will those countries retaliate and ship less materials to us?
The California Building Industry Association says U.S. producers cannot grow their production fast enough to offset any new retaliation. As for how Wall Street is reacting to today's announcement, economists and investors will be watching Wall Street very closely tomorrow. If you do have a question about these new tariffs, of course, we want to hear from you. You can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. All right, tonight, dozens of Democratic senators, including California's Alex Padilla, are calling on the Trump administration to reverse mass firings at Head Start and the Office of Child Care under the Department of Health and Human Services. They say California's Head Start program is the largest in the nation, serving more than 82,000 children, while the Office of Child Care provides grants and subsidies for thousands of low-income families. The senators say in a statement, quote, "The termination of staff is alarming and will compound the challenges already facing these programs and services, including the lack of timely and transparent information with no clear planning nor considerations for how early childhood services will be impacted." Turning to immigration now, the Trump administration says crossings at the southern border reached another new low last month. They say they recorded 7,000 illegal crossings in March, which is down from more than 47,000 in December, which was former President Biden's last full month in office. And tonight, 2 large shelters at the border are shutting down after they say their need has completely plummeted. Steve Price from our sister station in San Diego reports Catholic Charities and Jewish Family Service served more than 250,000 people. But over the past several months, they've gone from helping thousands every week to just a few.
For 2 years, this is what it looked like at the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Mission Valley. Buses packed with asylum seekers pulling into the parking lot. The hotel rooms filled with people looking for a new life in America. The hotel, a shelter run by Catholic Charities. But here's that same hotel today. The asylum seekers long gone, the hotel back to being a hotel. And the same is true here at what was once a bustling makeshift roadside shelter in Acumba.
About 24 pounds of rice.
Volunteers who serve them meals say they stopped providing that service last year because the numbers dropped dramatically. And federal statistics back that up. Border Patrol says year over year in February, they saw migrant encounters with their agents drop by nearly 95%. The reason? Federal policy changes, including President Trump ending the CBP one appointment system and increased security at border crossings, which have significantly decreased the number of asylum seekers heading into our country from Mexico. The county's two biggest agencies running the shelters, Catholic Charities and Jewish Family Service, both say they are shutting their shelters due to a lack of people needing them. JFS added that it's pivoting its focus to address increasing needs for immigrants and undocumented residents, telling us in a statement, JFS will continue providing robust pro bono immigration legal services for the most vulnerable cases, including unaccompanied minors and adults facing deportation, free immigration legal services and education for 12 community colleges and universities in the region, and renewals for deferred action for childhood arrivals recipients, along with JFS programs and services available to the community at large, including food, aging care services, case management, and more.
Coming up onto the point, a chase in Citrus Heights ending in a crash, an hours-long standoff, while law enforcement says they were chasing the man. Plus, Democrat Javier Becerra officially announcing his run for governor. A look at the crowded field and which Republicans have already thrown their hat in the ring.
Temperatures are climbing. We're going to be in the 70s starting this weekend, and then I've got some 80s for next week, and I've got the forecast after the break.
Welcome back. We had some extreme weather yesterday. National Weather Service even recording one tornado in Salida touching down. Some serious things happening yesterday.
Yeah, in Stanislaus County, we saw a funnel cloud, right? We had that confirmed tornado. Let's take a look at the map, and we'll see. Now, this was not a tornado-warned storm. The rotation was very brief here, but you see, taking a look at the map, this happened quite a ways south, right, of Sacramento. South of Stockton. Let's zoom in to Salida here. And this is Salida, and you see Highway 99, you see Highway 219, and that was the path of that tornado. It touched down at 2:13 p.m. and lifted at 2:15 p.m. So it was on the ground for just 2 minutes, didn't even travel a mile, has 76 mile-per-hour winds. That makes it an EF0. So this was a very minor storm. There was a little bit of damage to some almond crops, and 3 structures saw some damage as well. But again, this was a very minor tornado. And then we saw some funnel clouds later on. We saw some of those pictures from Oakdale. Some folks sent that in to us. So let's take a look now. It's much quieter out there. There was a thunderstorm in the Copperopolis, Sonora, Arnold area, but that has since fizzled out. Just some rain showers at this point. Let's look at a different part of the country, though. Some major severe weather tonight across parts of the Mid-South, across parts of the Midwest. And you'll see that here, the highest risk possible, a level 5 out of 5 across parts of the Mississippi River Valley there. And we're starting down south. We see tornado warnings from Texarkana all the way up into Memphis. Tornado warnings continue north of Memphis into Indiana. And then we've got more tornado warnings all the way up through Indiana and severe thunderstorm warnings in Michigan. So big severe weather outbreak there, but here at home, it's a lot quieter. We're in the 60s right now. As we go through the rest of this evening, we'll stay clear. We'll drop into the 40s by 11 o'clock tonight, and early tomorrow morning. We're starting in those upper 30s and low 40s in the valley with clear skies tomorrow afternoon, sunny and seasonal. Average high 71, so a little bit below average, but still closer to where we should be for the time of year. Upper 60s tomorrow, and then look at that, some mid 70s by the weekend, Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Coming up, the California's governor's race. So look at some of the candidates already announcing their run and why a man was being chased in Citrus Heights, leading to a crash, an hours-long standoff today. Welcome back. A man is in custody tonight following a chase that started in Placer County and ended in a crash, an hours-long standoff in Citrus Heights. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office says a few weeks ago, the man allegedly pointed a gun at a person in a car, demanding they roll down their window. Law enforcement spotted him in a car today. They say during the chase, the man hit a parked car and almost hit a deputy. Tonight in Your Voice, Your Vote, the field of Democrats running for governor is getting more and more crowded. Today, former Health and Human Services Secretary, State Attorney General, and Congressman Javier Becerra announced his candidacy for the 2026 governor's race.
Right now, what can't wait is that California dream.
Becerra said in his announcement that the California dream is very tough and wants to address affordability. He was born in Sacramento and said his parents were able to achieve the dream and wants others to be able to. He joins a very crowded field of Democrats, including Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond, former Senate Pro Tem and Speaker of the Assembly Tony Atkins, former State Controller and current California Democratic Party Vice Chair Betty Yee, and former LA Mayor and Speaker of the Assembly Antonio Villaraigosa. We will, of course, be sharing more about these candidates in the months to come. But To the Point recently covered the California GOP convention and also spoke to California Republicans who have officially announced their run for governor. They each have their own vision for the state's future, from tackling crime to cutting costs. They're making their case to voters. And tonight we introduce you to 4 candidates and their plans.
Chad Bianco is leading the pack of candidates, raising over $190,000 in campaign contributions so far this year, more than any other candidate. Bianco has served as Riverside County Sheriff since 2018. He's slammed Democratic policies for fueling crime, homelessness, and high living costs. His campaign focus: building a better California.
Why are you deciding to run for governor in 2026?
I came here for the California dream and I achieved it. And the California dream for my kids is now a nightmare. Cost of living is higher than anywhere in the country. I have 32 years of this, of irrefutable leadership ability, and I'm just going to bring it to Sacramento. And I'm going to turn our governor around, not Democrat and Republican. It's going to be a California government that is there for Californians.
Leo Zaki says as a former VP of his family's business, Zaki Farms, he got an early look at government working as a lobbyist. Now he's on a mission to take California back, calling out homelessness, failed policies, and what he calls a state in decline. Zaki believes California needs a new direction.
Well, after my family lost our poultry company due to overregulation, high minimum wage prices, utility price hikes here in California, and we were vertically integrated after we were in business for 90 years. I have felt I had to do something to prevent this from happening to other folks, because if it can happen to me, and we were the largest privately owned employer in the state of California at one point with 4,000 employees, it can happen to anybody.
Brandon Jones says he's not a politician, he's a problem solver. Jones says he's on a mission to fix California's toughest challenges, from affordable housing to safer streets. Jones believes real change starts with bold leadership and restoring hope and opportunity for all Californians.
I think all understand California is in a state of crisis. I mean, everywhere we look, whether it be the economy, public education, environmental issues, California is in trouble. So I'm running to restore California. I also lead a movement called Restore California, which aims to unite the people of California to collectively bring about real change.
After previous runs for Long Beach City Council and the California State Senate, Sharifa Hardy is now throwing her hat in the ring for California's governor. Focused on tackling homelessness, lowering taxes, and bringing businesses back to California, Hardy believes the Golden State's best days are ahead if the right changes are made.
I'm running for governor of California because politics is in my blood. My focus is on bringing a gold rush back to California, bringing companies and corporations, and out of these individuals, there's not any of them that knows more about economy, business, helping Californians than I do.
We also asked each candidate what their top 3 priorities would be their first year in office if elected.
Public safety is number one, and all of the things that come along with public safety: the homeless, the drugs, the theft, the rising crime. The regulations and the fees are driving California residents and businesses to other states that don't have them, and our school system is broken. We pay more per student than anyone in the country. We are absolutely failing our children.
Work on getting the water infrastructure in place, getting the homeless crisis under control, and mitigating the wildfires problem that we have in this state. I think those are the 3 easiest things that we can do that are also going to save the state a lot of money and make the quality of life a lot better.
I think we need to better understand how California taxpayer dollars are being spent. So I would like to audit various departments really closely, but also helping the public sector to align with the private sector. I'm really about, again, partnering with the private sector and communities to collectively bring about the change that's needed in California.
My top 3 priorities are the job sector, meaning the corporate market, as well as the housing, along with the mental health crisis, because the mental health crisis is something that's very personal to me.
We have more of our conversations with Republicans who have launched their campaigns for governor so far, and also a one-on-one interview with the California Republican Party's new leader. Our coverage is streaming now on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. All you have to do is just look for California GOP, a new era. We're back after this. All right, tomorrow night, we are taking the show to the city of Folsom. It is one of the fastest growing cities in the state. The new Folsom Ranch development is bringing thousands of new homes to the area, and our region's 4 major hospital systems are all expanding there. But with Folsom's growth comes a cost. Tomorrow night, the To The Point team is exploring what all of this new development means for schools, traffic, city services, and what the mayor says she hears the most complaints about: traffic.
The growth has come some growing pains in the form of additional traffic, particularly on East Bidwell. Right now, we do not have full funding for the construction, so that's something we're going to have to figure out.
What's being done to address residents' concerns? Don't miss our special tomorrow night on To The Point, the city of Folsom. It's airing only right here on ABC 10. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Rachel.